of everything. In her writings at time, Oliver has reflected on her childhood demons to include poverty, sexual abuse, and violence, although she rarely identified herself with this early trauma. Even as a child, she was a survivor, and she took refuge in books. She was a very prolific reader, and nature, thankfully. In discussing her forays into the woods and words, she reflected, "The world of literature offered me, besides the pleasures of form, the sustentation of empathy, and I ran for it. I stood willingly and gladly in the characters of everything, other people, trees, clouds. And this is what I learned, that the world's otherness is antidote to confusion, that standing within this otherness, the beauty and the mystery of the world, out in the fields or deep inside books, can re-dignify the worst stung heart." At times, her writing does speak to the pain that she suffered throughout her life, mainly in her childhood, but later on. In her poem, Lead, she shares her sadness for a loon that she sees dying on the shoreline. The poem begins, "Here is a story to break your heart." And the poem ends with, "I tell you this to break your heart, by which I mean only that it break open and never close again to the rest of the world." Yes, to live in the world of the heart, yours, mine, the hummingbirds, the blue whales, to open your heart to the world, even if it means breaking it. And in breaking your heart, opening it even wider, allowing the joy of aliveness to enter, making it far better and stronger than it was before. Much like the Japanese art of kintsugi, the bowl, once broken, is restored, its cracks filled with gold, creating a piece more beautiful than the original. In another poem, The Uses of Sorrow, subtitled, "In My Sleep I Dreamed This Poem," Oliver seems to have reconciled some of the pain she'd experienced throughout her life. She wrote, "Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this, too, was a gift." Conversely, Mary showed us how love and aliveness can be expressed through whimsy, with delight, irreverence, and a light heart. I find this especially so in her poetry about dogs. Yes, I'm a dog lover, and other animals, and it's just so wonderfully whimsical. I love it. In her poem, Almost a Conversation, she begins, "I have not yet, talked with Otter about his life. He has so many teeth, he has trouble with vowels." And then it ends, "He has no words. Still, what he tells about his life is clear. He does not own a computer. He imagines the river will last forever. He does not envy the dry house I live in. He does not wonder who or what it is that I worship. He wonders, morning after morning, that the river is so cold and fresh and alive, and still I don't jump in." That was good. One of my favorites, and I have to share this one, is called Percy 1 from her poetry collection, Dog Songs. "Our new dog, named for the beloved poet, ate a book which unfortunately we had left unguarded. Fortunately, it was the Bhagavad Gita, of which many copies are available. Every day now, as Percy grows into the beauty of his life, we touch his wild, curly head and say, Oh, wisest of little dogs. That poem will always make me smile. I love it. And also, as an aside, there's a picture of Percy and Mary Oliver on the front of your order of service if you'd like to see Percy. Now, returning to our seventh principle, why is the word interdependent so integral to that principle? What does it really mean? So I went right to Merriam-Webster. And interdependent means the state of being dependent on one another, mutual dependence. In Buddhism, interdependence is a central tenet. It's also known as dependent origination or interbeing. We inter-are. All phenomena that exist, to include you and me and the hummingbirds and the blue whales and coffee pots and dust mites, are interdependent. Nothing stands alone. Nothing can come of nothing. And I guess you've heard this example, but a great example of this is just a simple piece of paper. It's not just a piece of paper. You have to consider everything that went into creating that piece of paper. It was the sun, the rain, the earth, the living organisms, the humans, the processes, on and on and on. I think you get the idea. It's just nothing is standalone. Everything has originated from something else. Oliver couldn't have expressed that interdependence rather, than in the final lines of her poem, Wild Geese. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Yes, your place in the family of things, everything and everyone's mutual dependence on each other, on everything. And I think Oliver captures that in her writings, in her poetry, so beautifully. There is no doubt in my mind that Mary Oliver's seemingly simplistic yet elegantly evocative poetry not only respected our connection to the interdependent web of existence, but celebrated it, embraced it, and in a sense, deified it, much like Peter Mayer's song, Holy Now, with a repeated refrain, everything, everything, everything is holy now. In Oliver's poem, The River Clarion, she wrote, I don't know who God is exactly, but I tell you this. I was sitting in the river named Clarion on a water-splashed stone, and all afternoon I listened to the voices of the river talking. And slowly, very slowly, it became clear to me what they were saying. Said the river, I am part of holiness. And I too, said the stone. And I too, whispered the moss beneath the water. But how do we mortals find the wherewithal, the courage, the ability to look deeply into the holiness, the wonder of everything going on around us, the everyday miracles? How do we truly respect our interdependent web of existence? If we don't really open ourselves to it or feel it or notice it, or not be totally gobsmacked by it, astonished. Once again, Oliver herself has instructed us in her poem, Mindfulness. Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Yes, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? As Oliver said herself, attention is the beginning of devotion. And I'll repeat that. Attention is the beginning of devotion. The practice of mindfulness is simple, yet it requires some little work, some intention, some focus, and perhaps a little fearlessness to let go of the stories we tell ourselves, our unhealthy attachments, our monkey minds that keep us stuck in the past or worried about the future, those many distractions that prevent us from noticing anything. How do we allow ourselves to simply be? Well, it begins by listening to the silence. As Oliver wrote in her poem, A Lesson from James Wright, I am ready to follow him along the sweet path he cut through the dryness and suggest that you sit now very quietly in some lovely wild place and listen to the silence. What wonderful advice. I think she was right. Her writings do speak for themselves. And I hope I've let Mary Oliver speak for herself in the few lines of hers I've recited today. I know her writing has made me think a lot more deeply about our respect of the seventh principle and my part in it, and hopefully your part in it as well. I know her writing inspires me, and hopefully you, to be truly aware of the world around us, open our hearts to it, to see the miraculous in the mundane, the everyday presentations, to know we are not alone, to instruct ourselves over and over in joy and acclamation. Finally, to realize the moment for that is now. If I were king of the forest, I might make a tiny revision to that principle to say, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, and forever after to be astonished by it. Thank you.
Please rise in body or spirit to sing Wake Now My Senses. We'll be singing verses 1 and 3. Number 298. Yeah? Is it 1, 3, and 5? Thank you, my love.
Yeah. closing words again from Cynthia.
Closing words are by Mary Oliver, a poem. It's called In Blackwater Woods. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires in the black river of loss whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. Okay, thank you.
At this time, we're going to do the postlude, right?
Extinguish the flame first.
Oh, we got to extinguish the chalice. I was so excited to ask Paul to sing this next song, so I jumped the gun. Okay, let's extinguish.
As long as you don't get shot by it.
Yeah.
Let us read the words together for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
When I was a boy, each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Kind from water is not so small, but an even better trick is anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, barely wet my fingertips, now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. Now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. questioning child's face and say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning I stood outside and saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scriptured verse. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second rate hand-me-down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
We do have quite a talented congregation. We warmly welcome all of you who are visiting us today. But before we share a moment of silent reflection to consider today's message and the meaning it has in our lives, one last thought. Cremation, my last chance at a smoking hot body.